archaeologists dug up a cave in China. Inside, they found pottery residue dated to 9,000 years ago. Traces of fermented rice, honey, and fruit. Not spoiled food, not an accident. A recipe. You think alcohol was invented for one reason: to get drunk, to loosen up at a party, to numb a bad day, to feel something different for a few hours. You think it's a purely modern indulgence, something humans stumbled into once civilization got comfortable enough to waste food on fun. Here's the thing, that's completely backwards. Let's talk about the drunken monkey hypothesis. In 2000, biologist Robert Dudley published a theory that changed how scientists think about our relationship with alcohol. He noticed something strange. Primates, including our ancestors, have had the ability to metabolize ethanol far longer than agriculture has existed. A specific gene mutation, dated by researchers to roughly 10 million years ago, gave early ape ancestors a 40-fold increase in their ability to break down alcohol efficiently. That's not a coincidence. That's evolution responding to something in the environment. So what was that something? Overripe fruit. Fruit that had fallen to the forest floor and begun to ferment naturally produced small amounts of ethanol as a byproduct. Any ancestor who could smell that fermentation from a distance and process the alcohol without getting sick had an advantage. More calories, more sugar, more survival. Think about that for a second. Long before humans existed, evolution was already selecting for the ability to handle alcohol, not because getting drunk was useful, because finding food was. Now let's talk about Göbekli Tepe, this site in southeastern Turkey. Excavated under archaeologist Klaus Schmidt starting in 1994. Completely rewrote the timeline of human civilization. Massive carved stone pillars, arranged in circular enclosures, dated to roughly 11,600 years ago, thousands of years before agriculture was supposed to have started. And here's where the story turns into something else entirely. Inside massive stone vats at the site, researchers found chemical residue consistent with fermented beverages. Some archaeologists now argue that the need to produce alcohol in large quantities for massive communal gatherings at a sacred site may have been one of the driving forces behind the invention of agriculture itself. Not bread, but beer. You think farming happened so humans could eat better. The evidence at Göbekli Tepe suggests farming may have happened, at least in part, so humans could drink together. So why does drinking together matter so much? This is where the story gets really interesting. Because alcohol didn't just provide calories or a pleasant buzz, it provided something ancient humans desperately needed: a social lubricant powerful enough to hold large groups together. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar has spent decades studying how humans maintain social bonds in groups too large for one-on-one relationships to cover everyone. His research points to alcohol, along with laughter, music, and shared meals, as a mechanism that triggers the release of endorphins, the same brain chemicals involved in bonding through physical touch, like grooming in other primates. A shared drink didn't just relax people, it chemically simulated the trust-building effect of one-on-one intimacy, but delivered it to an entire room at once. Ancient humans, living in growing settlements, faced a problem. Small hunter-gatherer bands of 50 people could bond through constant physical closeness. But a settlement of 500 people couldn't. Alcohol, consumed communally, became one of the tools that let strangers feel like family fast enough to cooperate, trade, and build cities together. It wasn't just a drink, it was social glue, strong enough to hold civilization together. Now here's where most people get it completely wrong about ancient beer specifically. You'd assume ancient beer was weak, watery, an afterthought compared to modern craft brewing. The opposite is true. Biomolecular archaeologist Patrick McGovern, who has spent his career analyzing residue from ancient pottery around the world, found that early fermented beverages were often deliberately complex. Mixtures of grape, rice, honey, and herbs, layered together in specific recipes that were refined and repeated generation after generation. At a site in Jiahu, China, dated to around 7000 BCE, McGovern's analysis revealed a beverage combining all 4 ingredients at once. That's not a primitive accident, that's a crafted formula, passed down like a family secret. And there's a reason the recipe mattered so much. Fermented beverages, before modern sanitation existed, were often safer to drink than water. The fermentation process killed off many pathogens that contaminated open water sources in early settlements. Ancient humans may not have understood germ theory, but they understood. Through generations of trial and painful error, that beer didn't make you sick the way the river sometimes did. So, here's the full picture. 10 million years before humans existed, evolution built our bodies to process alcohol efficiently because it meant more food in a forest full of fermenting fruit. 11,000 years ago, that inherited ability may have driven the very invention of farming. Just so massive communities could gather and drink together at sacred sites like Göbekli. 7,000 years ago, Complex recipes were being refined and repeated with the precision of a science, partly because the result was safer to drink than the water itself. And underneath all of it, alcohol worked as a chemical shortcut for trust, letting strangers bond fast enough to build something larger than any single family or tribe could on its own. Alcohol didn't just make ancient humans feel good, it might have helped build civilization itself. You crack open a drink after a long week and call it relaxing. Somewhere in that instinct is 10 million years of evolutionary programming and 11,000 years of humans discovering that a shared cup could turn strangers into a community. The buzz was never really the point, the bonding was. That's the most human thing there is, turning something as simple as fermented fruit into the glue that held entire civilizations together. Next time someone raises a glass and says cheers, you're not just watching a habit, you're watching one of the oldest survival tools our species ever built. Plus, let me know in the comments what everyday habit you want me to trace back next. I might be building an entire video around it.